is Landed in Leadership and Enlightenment, a podcast where the guests are exceptional humans that have faced their fears to crest into their best selves, growing into a way they can help their communities, creating opportunities, and sharing their secrets and their tips that they learned along the way. Without further ado, here we are, my friends. Have a great time today and enjoy Leadership and Enlightenment. Just where did you find this internet?
They were introduced to me by somebody that I've worked with before and that I'm still working with on other things. But yeah.
It's always great to see your life grow, brother. I swear to God. I mean, every time we get on the phone, I just feel like we're in this place where expansion's happening around us all the time.
I'm trying. Expansion's it's an interesting concept. I don't necessarily always want to be bigger, but I definitely want to grow my influence. I want to impact more lives. And that's really what I'm kind of striving to do. And it's just, you have to find the ways to do it, right? Some things work really well for a little bit and then they stop working. And something starts to work and you're like, ooh. And so it's just about kind of following those trails and figuring out which ones lead to the results you're looking for. And it's a constant effort, right? It's like tending a garden or anything else.
Dude, I think that's a talent, is to not try and lean on one thing as like your way of doing something, but always allowing it to evolve from its perspective. And we're like the cog in the wheel, like we're a piece of the equation. And, you know, coming out of my corporate world and into a world where I'm working for myself, I think that element's always there. Like, we have to be responsible to our businesses, however that is, and we have to be allowing ourselves to grow within that and allow outside influences to really, you know, build us up and to take an intern on. I mean, when I met you, bro, you were on your own out there. I mean, tell me in the beginning, we're on a podcast and the listeners are hearing us talk right now. And so the setup, where did you start and how did you get into this? You're an amazing keynote speaker.
Well, it's very nice of you to say. Constantly working on the craft, but I'm always trying to make it better, more impactful. But yeah, it started out kind of odd. I was in corporate sales for over a decade. And it's why I sold software and technology. I loved it. I really enjoyed it. I mean, anything I put myself into, I feel like I bring a level of passion to it just because I wouldn't be doing it if I wasn't passionate about it. And during that time, I accidentally wrote a book. Got into a disagreement with a coworker, and that night I kind of sat and just vented in dictation mode. It's like, if you're not passionate or enthusiastic about your work, you should go find different work. And so it just sat there for 2 years. And every once in a while I'd add a little bit to it. And just by happenstance, I met a publisher and they wanted to publish it. And when we published it, I quit my 9-to-5 job and said, this is what I want to do full time. I want to empower people in the work that they're doing and help people remember why they care about that work. And so that was now 9 years ago, a little over 9 years ago. And we're still sprinting towards that goal. But every year we're getting better. Every year we're meeting new people. We're connecting with more people. And it's been a wild ride. It's been a wild ride.
Do you ever think there's a place that you're going to get to where you can say to yourself, like, okay, I'm there, like I made it? Or do you think it's a different feeling? I mean, I'd love your take on that.
Well, I'm going to be honest. Contentment's something that I've constantly been struggling with, right? Because I think contentment's the goal. I think if you make a goal a number, right? Because here's the deal. If I was to look at where my business is now and go back to when I first started it, right? Those first, 5-6 months of speaking professionally, right? When I wasn't getting booked or I was doing stuff for, gift cards and things like that early on, I could look at what I'm doing now and be like, oh, I reached it. But now in this moment that I am, and it's hard because we're very good as human beings at looking at the next goalpost. Like, okay, what am I going towards next? What am I going to achieve next? And we rarely have the luxury of time to look back and be, okay, where did I come from? Like, where exactly did I already reach? Like, what goals did I already hit? And so taking that time to kind of reflect and be grateful for those things has been a huge, huge value to me, just because if you don't take the time to do it, you don't realize how far you've come. Because you're still just looking forward to the next goal.
It is. That perspective, I think, as somebody that employs themselves like you do, it's really the stability that you find within yourself of that realization. I mean, we all start in trying to replace an income or a job or a role title when we get out and we start doing this. And I just had this talk with my wife last night. We were going over our taxes for 24, and we had taken a little time off because our granddaughter was coming. It was like the big thing of why I got into this. Well, that 2 months of revenue shows up couple of years later, and she's like, oh, that's all we made that year. And I said, well, I'm not sure what you're saying behind that. Like, if I had shown you that and it was $3 million, what would you have said? She said, wow. I go, is there a place that we're going to get to where you're going to feel that way? Or is this just a matter of understanding? Because like that $3 million, maybe 2.5 of that is allocated to other investments, and you're not actually able to work with that revenue in your day-to-day life. I think we still see ourselves as needing more or wanting more instead of realizing, like you said, that ideal of what we're a part of. And I use a daily pre-shift of the universe, a meditation to start with that ideal of winding myself backwards and saying to myself, like, man, there was a day you were living in an RV to make this thing work. And look at where you're at now. And so like this revenue really isn't the gauge. It's this quality of life, this place that we've come through that allows our light to shine through. And that's where I'm really going to tag you into this next question, because that's what makes you you. I've seen it since I met you, is that you have this passion that just comes out of you in this shining light, and it drives and it motivates. And for you to find your best place in life and allow yourself to be a part of that equation every day, I mean, it must feel absolutely amazing. But at some point in that, I'm sure you hit a place where you were doing some really serious self-reflection and you had to build yourself back out of that again. And tell us a little bit about that. I mean, things are going good, figured it out, the book's out there for yourself. Now you're in the middle of this and you're like, wow, is this really what it is? And where am I going with it?
Well, I did. You know what? We have a perfect milestone that everybody can probably point back to as well. So things were ripping and roaring. I had a new manager on board. I was revamping my website. I was getting new footage, and then all of a sudden, 2020 happened. And so when things shut down in April of 2020, I canceled 17 round trips to different events. Now it was rough, and I mean, you go, okay, well, I guess we're going to do this virtually, right? So you buy a camera, right? I bought big black sheeting to go down behind me in my office, and I said, okay, we're going to go virtual. And so, of those 17 events, 15 of them were held virtually that year. One of them canceled, and one of them said, we're going to wait for things to open back up. And it was actually over 2 years
Mm.
until I actually got to give that speech. And by then, my fee had already gone up, but I'm obviously going to honor our contract just because act of God, right? um, some unforeseen situation. But it was a really wild experience because it forces you to take a step back and be like, whoa, okay, hold on. What was I leaning on too much of? And what did I put too much faith in? And I think it forces you to prepare for other situations you might not be anticipating, but could happen. And so all of those things are kind of part of it. And so I think we all went through that kind of a I'll say treacherous waters, right? That we had to navigate during that time because it was unforeseen. It was unknown to us, and it is unprecedented in any sort of situation,
Yeah.
at least our history. And
Yeah.
so stepping out of it now and kind of reflecting on it, I think most of us handled it fairly well. Not everybody, but I think most of us kind of we bobbed and weaved with the punches, and we kind of came out the other side stronger and more resilient. And so, which is a great thing for human beings and for humanity as a whole. And we need those moments. We need those moments of resistance, right? That challenging to the
There you
way
go.
we've been doing business, the way we've been thinking about how we
Yeah.
approach work and how we approach our lives. And if we can have those moments to kind of pause, time out, check yourself, and kind of reset, it really is invaluable. And I think it forces us to be better. I mean, mind
Yeah.
you, some people will take the opportunity to be worse in those situations, but people that are
Uh,
self reflective will take those moments to really find things that they want to change and then act upon those things to make the change a reality.
I agree. I think those that may not take the opportunity haven't just put the work in yet to realize the opportunity was available to them. You know, I have this daily mantra that we get up every day and we put the work in for when the opportunity arises. And sometimes there's nothing on the other end of that effort in the day that's tangibly something you can hold on to. It doesn't seem like money or a contract or a new booking that makes that day feel like it's successful more than the idea of working within this energy that we're a part of. And as much as we start, it almost doesn't even seem like it's ours anymore. Like
Hmm.
we're in this large universal process that we've agreed to. And those challenges, like you say, they really reflect all these opportunities we've had in our lives as we've grown up. Even going through school or working in that 9 to 5 or that corporate job like you were in, there was always these friction points that we had to achieve through and come through to get to the other side of the rain, proverbially, to get to the fresh grass. And I think that if we're talking about the pandemic specifically, it was a very large reset for all of us. I was right smack dab in the middle of the same thing. I mean, personally, I rented my house, sold all my stuff, put my garage car at my son's house, and lived in an RV for 2 years, because what are you going to do? You're just literally going to have to try and make things work around you, reset your circumstances to continue this momentum into this idea that we're a part of. And this podcast is about bringing through this ideal. Not so much that you've done anything, but that you're a part of something. And I keep
Mhm.
hearing that reflecting in everything that you're saying as we're talking about this. What's something that's hitting you right now that you'd love to share that you can really see how something that we can't put a name to is motivating you on a daily basis in your life and how this all comes together?
When I was talking about contentment earlier, I think one of the another keyword that I think is very invaluable, right, is contribution, right? I'm much more content when I feel like I've contributed to something, right? So whether I'm contributing to the joy of my family, if I'm contributing to maintaining the household, if I'm contributing to the business world, if I'm contributing to, the 5 people that follow me on whatever social media platform, or if I'm contributing to an event's success, right? So I think knowing that I'm contributing something much bigger than myself, it brings me a sense of peace, but um, it also brings me a sense of responsibility towards what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, right? And so I'm preparing for an event I have later this week. I'm very excited about it. I've been talking with the client for months now. They had seen me at another event and they're bringing me in. And I know that this is not my event. I am but a small part of a much larger event, right? Because their executive team's going to be there, all their leadership's going to be there. They have other people speaking. They have all the hotel staff, right? All the hospitality people are going to be helping in that room. The AV team. I am but one little piece of a much larger picture. And I think that there's an ego is something that I constantly have to fight, right? But there's
Yeah.
there's an ego piece to when you're a keynote speaker, right? Your name's real big and they've got your face up giant, and it's a bit disarming to be honest with you. But it can be easy for you to kind of lean into like, yeah, I am awesome. I am the
Right.
keynote. No, no, no. I am there just to serve the audience, right? The goals of the people that are planning this event and how they want their team impacted. And I think knowing that I'm my one part is my contribution to this much larger thing, right? Which is this organization, having a great team meeting and sending their team members back out into their respective offices with a sense of fulfillment and a sense of purpose behind the work and efforts that they're doing. And my goal is just to be a small part so they can go and make it happen. And so remembering that I'm constantly contributing to something bigger than myself gives me contentment, right? Especially if I show up to an event and it's fewer people than I was expecting, it can be a bit, I don't know, disappointing, right? You can be
Hmm.
crestfallen in those moments, but no, the right people are there, right? The people
Yeah.
that I'm here to impact are right there. And I'm ready for my contribution to that situation. So that's why I think I'm so adamant about thinking about contentment and what I'm contributing to every
Yeah.
situation that I'm in.
Yeah. I think, and I
It's
use the, go ahead. I use the word flow in that, but I like where you're going.
Well, and flow is an amazing state that I've done quite a bit of research. I have a good friend of mine that's also a speaker, and she speaks on flow, and she talks about how she can kind of snap herself into it. She comes from a concert musician standpoint,
Mm,
but so it's really important for her to be able to step on stage with other musicians and then pop into that frame set
there
where
you
she
go.
is.
Yeah.
And
Let it
it's
go
kind of
into
neat
it.
to dissect it. Yeah, to dissect it, right? Because it's a performance, like just like my speech.
Yeah.
It's a performance, right? At the
Yeah.
end of the day,
Well, you're
they're
an
looking at
artist,
me, they're
brother.
listening to me. It's a performance. So being able to step into that right place of mind so that when I'm contributing at my best so that
For
they can
sure.
go be their best. I think that's what it's really about, isn't it?
It
Not
is.
not
It
showing up
is.
half-heartedly.
And it's not about what we're doing, and this is the funny part. I'm going to break this down for a second because I saw this amazing concert once in Cancun that we created for this event experience. And this artist didn't really fit the motif of the audience necessarily from my perspective. But I stepped away from this and I was able to see the audience and the entertainer interact because I was there for a service reason. And this person enlightened these people where they were floating by the end of the night. And I realized it wasn't because of him. It was because he was allowing this flow through him. And I'd use the same analogy like in golf. If you play golf, there's a certain place where you have to let go and be a part of it at the same time. And when you can let go and allow something around us to really invigorate that, I think that really settles into this analogy for me like the rings in a tree. I used to see when I was working in that corporate structure where everything seemed like a ladder. I was trying to get somewhere and I was identified as this person that had to win and everybody else had to lose around me to be this person. But in the world that you're speaking of and the one that I live in now that I'm so excited about, like you said, in contentment or flow is really just playing our role, being a part of what that is in the rings of the tree and realizing we're not the tree. We're not the tree. We're not the hand. We're the finger of the hand that's connected to the arm. And that our job is really to be the best we can be and shine that light through that situation and let the universe put the pieces together. If the audience is too small, so be it. If it's a couple people, but those pieces come together in a way where it really elaborates and expands their life. And I think that's what I always take away from when I used to listen to motivational speakers like yourself on the corporate side is I could walk away with something that could buy me 6 months of reinventing myself and really finding my best self there. And it was never about standing out. It was about taking the honesty of these few approaches. Like maybe it was getting a hallway cleaned up at work or spending a little time with an employee that I wouldn't necessarily spend time with because, really that was just, to me, it wasn't efficient of time because, we had a big operation. But if I brought this one individual into existence that day and spent it, they could then motivate themselves to create grandeur around themselves too. And I understood finally that it wasn't about me anymore, that I was just part of this equation. Dude, that's why I've always looked back at you and just been and admire you. And have to say, I'm a little jealous. I love to be there myself helping people because, that is just such a place that I think you and I were both meant to be. It's why we're brothers from another mother. We come from the same place. I call you a light warrior because I know you fight in that same essence as I do. So we're getting to a place now where we have to let the audience go and look forward to seeing you again down the road here. What do you want to leave them with? What's the one big thing this week you're working on? I mean, you mentioned contentment, but what is something you can leave them with that you're currently messing around with that you think that they could find some value in?
Well, and this is going to get real esoteric, but I know you're okay with that. So, I mean, right now, everybody's implementing AI in their own way, right? There's some people that are scared, they haven't done anything yet, which I would suggest don't be scared, be curious, right? But and this is a much bigger, like wider idea behind this. We've had so much innovation, we've had so much technological pushes, we've had huge breakthroughs. I want the next giant shift to be a human one. Now, I don't know exactly what that looks like or what that means, but I promise you I'm trying to do my part. But I want that next big shift for humanity to be one that's centered on humanity. Because one could argue that a lot of the technological advances we've been making recently have been a bit inhumane, right? It's working to destroy some authenticity between connections. And I would love for the next giant leap to be one that is truly human centric.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. I think we all play a part in that. Setting that example, picking up that piece of trash when you're walking through a parking lot, and maybe somebody in that audience sees you do it and thinks to themselves, I can do that too. I know it's a weird thing to say. I'll wrap on this myself, but I was in Vegas last week and I was walking around with a book in my ear and I saw this person that doesn't necessarily live in a house walking down the street and took a bottle that he was finished with and threw it in a planter. And for whatever reason, he looked up at me and I just looked at him in a way like, wow, this is your home too, bud. I mean, like, this is where we all live. And he turned around and went and picked it up. And I didn't say a word to him. And I think that there's a place for us in this little world that we can all share in that humanity. I'm not asking that man to do any more than just keep the place that he lives in acceptable as the way that the rest of us. And I think that when we trade that kind of energy and we invest in each other in the smaller things in life, your family, the presence of how you approach, your circumstances, I think that
Mhm.
feeds into this bigger picture later on. As long as we start from the very beginning in that way, that the rest of it just kind of envelopes in the same way.
Indeed, indeed. So you shamed him with a look. I like that. Good for you.
Apparently, but it was kind of one of these looks like, I can't believe you would do that when like the trash can is right here. I mean, it wasn't purposeful. It was just like, this is our humanity right now. And for some reason, he responded to that energy when he saw that. And I think that we're living within this realm that we're actually communicating around each other in some ways like that. And again, we can get deep about it. I don't think we're in charge of any of this stuff. I just see us part of a bigger picture in every aspect. And when we don't just do it for work, but we do it for family and we do it for our community and we do it for our sanity, then we're back into this place I call flow. Not really a part of what that means either, but we accept the benefits of it because we're really setting this example and shedding this light around.
Well, if you'll let me just real quick little example of
Please.
something I've been
Yeah.
trying to do. So, as human beings, we like to do the easy thing, right? It's easy to stay in bed and not get up and exercise. It's easy to not work out and just lounge around. It's easy when I travel to just doom scroll on my phone. But like I've been watching myself, and I don't like that, right? It's taking me out of my human element and sticking me in a virtual space, which I think we spend too much time in. And so what I've been doing recently when I travel is I've started to do watercolor painting while I travel. So like on the airplane, in the
Yeah.
business lounge at the airport, if I'm just sitting around a restaurant before an event, like it's so cathartic. And you get some weird looks. People are like giving me weird looks for sitting there, like being present with myself, painting like a little picture. And they're not that great, right? But I enjoy it. And they're like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm painting. And they're like, they kind of give you a weird look. And then I'll watch them walk away and they just go back and start scrolling their phone. It's like, how is me being physically present stranger than you being virtually absent? It's hard to focus, but I mean, hopefully people
Yeah.
will see that and be like, what could I do that's different from, the expectation, right? Because everybody's heads are down and they're staring at these little glowing rectangles, and it's just so bad for us. We
For us
know it.
example.
We know
Yeah,
it.
it's
Let
your
me
example.
justify it. I got to check
Well,
my email, and I got to go to LinkedIn, and I might as well go check Facebook or Instagram or whatever your poison is. And we dive down it. And I'm not saying I'm never on those apps, but I'm saying
no,
that I
no.
think we need to be more cognizant of how we utilize our time, because we know we get one turnaround this, right? We at least one.
Yeah.
Do you want to
That
waste
we
it
know
if this is
about.
your only,
Yeah, and,
right?
I think like you said, if we can release the shame of our differences and be ourselves in that world, think of the example you set. I mean, I bet you there's 2 or 3 people that really considered that and said, I could do something different than sitting here getting frustrated all day, and that might be a great opportunity, and, to me, that's the same thing as, like, picking up that water bottle that you see on the street or
Hmm.
something of that nature, because we are affected. We don't need to have the outcome of that as long as we're part of that bigger picture. And once again, brother, you do describe a light warrior to me, the light shining through. It's why you're a leader in life. And this is what this podcast is about. I can't wait to catch
Thank
up
you.
with you a couple months down the road, bro, and see what you're working on then. I think that
Oh yeah.
these are the tidbits that I think the audience, the listeners will really enjoy down the road, is that, none of us are in a place where we're ever going to be able to look back and say we made it. It just doesn't exist. It's always going to be this work in progress. It's always going to be this place that we're investing ourselves into what we do. And we know we can learn our way into that next step. And we just have to give ourselves that time and that patience to do it. And that confidence really is what grows that entrepreneurial spirit and gives you that opportunity to stand on your own. So again, dude, you're a great friend. It's always a
Thank
pleasure
you,
to
Dean.
talk to you, brother. Yeah. Have a beautiful afternoon.
You do the same.
God bless. Well, there we go. Another amazing example of the universe working in its magnificent way today. Appreciate you showing up and look forward to seeing you again at Leadership and Enlightenment.